What comes to mind when you think about commanding authority? We will follow someone who is not correct, who might even be somewhat of a lunatic. Believing in yourself is powerful. You will convince other people. I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to transform your life completely to become the man that you're capable of being. For the most part, the reason why people respect authority is because they feel like their well-being is better served by following you. And there's really two ways that you see this. One is through genuine respect. The second way is through fear. I said that I was going to give you 4 ways to command authority, even if you're not intimidating. It was not going to be what you expected. And so the first one here is not at all what probably most of you expected, which is being fair. Let's think about a king. Okay, a king definitely commands authority. A king definitely can command respect. But a king's primary role, at least historically, has been to act as a judge. Now, why does the role of a king exist, and why would a king be a good judge? People are coming to the king for fairness. And that is what makes the king really the king. Yes, there is noble decree, and yes, there's bloodlines and all these things, but the reason for having a king, right, the reason for having that authority centered in one place is because people want a fair shake. So one other thing about being fair is that, people will willingly subject themselves to a fair arbitrator. If they feel like you are a fair person, they're going to willingly subject their own will to you because they feel like they're going to get a fair shake, rather than trying to rely on their own might or their own power or their own facilities to get what they want. Now, one way that you can be fair is to acknowledge your faults. Acknowledging your faults is extremely powerful because it shows honesty. If you're willing to say something that is wrong, or a flaw in your plan, or something that is somewhat derogatory towards you, then people are going to know that you're honest, and that's going to mean that you're probably going to be fair. Another technique of doing this is to use disarming language. You're basically going to tell people what they already know, but you don't wait for them to object and tell you. A lot of times when we get into an interaction where we're trying to convince someone of something, what we do is we basically raise some flags. We wait for them to object. But if we preempt their objection, telling them exactly what they think, then we can get into a situation where it's what I call disarming language. It basically makes it so that someone knows that you are trustworthy or fair because you already understand their viewpoint before they've had to express it, instead of you trying to overcome their viewpoints. Having empathy towards people and showing that empathy is going to make people think that you're fair, okay, and realize that you're fair, and that you're going to give them a fair shake, which is going to make them more loyal to you. It's going to make them want to respect you and your authority. I know this sounds very counterintuitive, but it's very, very true. Think of the fairness as being like a king. Not a pushover, okay, but someone who will distribute justice, who's going to fairly hear both sides of an argument, and is always going to give you a fair shake. That's a person that you're going to follow. That's a person that you're going to respect their authority. So the next one is being confident. We tend to trust experts, even if it's just a perception. In Robert Cialdini's famous book Influence, he has a section on authority in there. It talks about how just wearing a uniform can give you a sense of authority, and people will listen and respect you. If you put a PhD next to your name, or an MD, and you try to sell something, people are going to trust you more, and they're going to respect your authority, and we'll listen to those people. Or even staying in our houses and telling other people to stay in their homes, right? Even though it's giving up some of our basic freedoms, because we trust those authorities, we trust those experts. We don't really even have very much proof of what they're saying to be true. We just trust that. By the way, now's a great time to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm if you haven't done that already. Next one we're going to look at is being unemotional. We are usually wrong, all right, when we are emotional. So we respect someone who isn't, right? That's what it comes down to. Think about the times when you've been angry, and usually you're wrong, okay? Usually in some way you're not being fair, you're not being someone you could trust, right? Someone who's angry, who's really emotional, you don't know if they're logically thinking, and probably they're not. Do you want to go and follow a hothead? Do you want to respect the authority of a hothead? You want someone who's analytical. What you can do to be unemotional is pretty basic here, but speak slowly and clearly, and don't command out of anger or revenge. You're gonna give someone an order. If you're gonna tell someone what needs to be done, right, and a lot of times you have to do this, don't do it by shouting them an order. Someone who has to yell and resort to emotional tactics in order to get someone motivated to do something, it feels like they don't have much power. They're trying to use threats and they're trying to use their voice as a substitute for real power. The fourth one that we're going to talk about here is really, really important. It's critical for getting authority and respect, which is to be decisive. You can see this in a lot of political campaigns. You can see this in politics today. We as human beings, we crave certainty, even if it's not correct. We will follow someone who is not correct, who might even be somewhat of a lunatic. I'm not actually making examples here. I don't have someone in mind. Let me put it that way. Speaking with authority is powerful. Believing in yourself is powerful. You will convince other people. They want to follow something, and they are indecisive. And so if you are decisive and you give them something to follow, they will follow you. One of the ways that I do it is I talk about things. I speak to you with authority, right? What I'm saying, I don't say, well, I think maybe this or what that. I'm telling you, this is it. But at the same time, I, at any point, realize that I could be wrong about any of the number of things that I believe in life, and I revise my statements from time to time. I've done videos where I've revised my viewpoints. But at this point, if I believe something to be true, I'm going to speak it as if it's true. There's no reason to do otherwise, but if you can convince me otherwise, I'm totally open to be convinced otherwise, and I will change my viewpoint and I'll revise it over time. You should immediately decide what you want. Deciding, taking charge and saying, okay, no, we're going to go here. No, we're going to do this. Or this is what, not this whole, oh, what do you think? Or what do you want? Or maybe you do this with your friends or your girlfriend, or it's weak. Make a decision. What needs to be done? People are looking for you for leadership and guidance. It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be correct 100% of the time, but they need something to trust, something to rely on. And so that's why you got to make those decisions quickly, and don't waffle on those decisions. Be willing to be wrong and adapt. Again, people will follow you and they will respect your authority much more if you're willing to make a decision in the moment because it needs to be made and take a direction. And then if it turns out you're wrong, you're willing to revise that decision and go back and do something else. But you're always taking action. You're always being decisive. And that is going to build a high level of trust and authority.